Well, despite the agitated push for the dissolution of the Meru County Assembly, the Senate has given that county yet another lease of life as it begins plenary hearings for the impeachment of Governor Kioria Mwangaza. We'll be telling you about the details tonight.
And on our conversation on Sunday Express tonight, we're looking at gender-based violence. At this point, looking at how leveraging on technology will actually bridge the gap, especially when survivors are seeking justice.
Welcome to the broadcast. Here are tonight's highlights.
And that is why, in this new model, we are increasing scholarship and loan for students from vulnerable families from 80% to 95%.
University funding model. President William Ruto maintains his administration made the right choice. Make or break. Azimio to meet Monday to decide fate of ODM counterparts perceived to have joined government. Kioria Mwangaza before Pontius Pilate. Impeached Meru governor to face senators on Monday and Tuesday. And redefining possibilities. Meet visually impaired 23-year-old Pamina Young Green, who was not only excelled as an electrician, but also as a DJ. Byron Abuli is a sign language interpreter. My name is John Jacob Kioria. You're very much welcome to the broadcast.
Good evening, I'm Regina, Manyara.
Now, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Governing Council will meet on Monday in a make-or-break meeting meant to decide the fate of their ODM counterparts. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka says the Orange Party's support for the broad-based government makes their stay in Azimio untenable, insisting that the party's support for the President William Ruto is a betrayal to protesting youth who have been demanding accountability from his administration. Days after appearing to soften his stance regarding his engagement with the ODM leader Raila Odinga, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka is now accusing ODM of betraying the Gen Z protesters. Speaking in Embu, accompanied by other Azimio luminaries, Kalonzo says the coalition's governing council will make a decision Monday on the leadership of a coalition in and outside parliament.
Formation of the so-called government, broad-based government, which has not taken into account the concerns of the Gen Z. We think that that is an act of futility. It is a betrayal, actually a betrayal. It's like kicking the youth on their teeth. Na kuambia mutadu.
We must, and we are going to tell Kenyans within this week as we hold our Azimio Council meeting, that part of us who are going into government will be released to join government. And we will remain under the leadership of Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka as Azimio to fight for the people of Kenya.
Kalonzo says while the other constituent parties will continue to check the government, the Orange Party has already joined the executive and can't therefore play the role of effective opposition.
Sisi tumeamua kwamba tutakuwa wapinzani wa dhati bila kusita, kwa sababu nchi yenyewe inatarajia kwamba we stand strong na Wakenya mutuamini.
It is not in doubt as to where we are going, because our leader of Azimio is with us here, and we will be with him. He has been with us.
He contradicted Odinga's position that retired President Uhuru Kenyatta initiated the new corporation between President Ruto and the opposition chief.
Mtu akipatikana na shida yake ataweza sema hata mimi niliongea na Uhuru jana. Kwa hivyo, I don't think that's a way to go.
The Azimio leaders criticized the government over plans to revisit the finance bill and reintroduce it to Parliament, and called on the judiciary to stay on guard and protect the interests of Kenyans.
Because with a captured Parliament, with the tyranny of numbers that they now have, with the new taxes that are coming, the judiciary is the last line of defense.
If you introduce a road toll on Thika Superhighway, what are you trying to do? You are raiding further the people's pockets.
The leaders are holding a series of meetings in the Mount Kenya region as they seek to woo the vote-rich region to back Kalonzo's stab at the presidency in 2027. In the meantime, President William Ruto has defended the university funding model, maintaining it will aid families in footing their children fee in institutions of higher learning.
Now, speaking during the 42nd graduation ceremony of the University of Eastern Africa, Baraton in Nandi County, the head of state maintained that the decision taken by his administration will continue facing opposition, but assured parents they will appreciate the model down the line.
Ruto further stated the scholarships available for the first years set to join the respective institutions in September has increased from 80% to about 95% to cushion the vulnerable households.
The 42nd graduation ceremony of the University of Eastern Africa, Baraton in Nandi County.
I must say that it is the first time ever that I have accepted a honorary degree from any university.
Here, President William Ruto, alongside newly appointed Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos Ogamba, county bosses and other high-ranking government officials continue to drum up support for the new university funding model.
We need a funding model that is not focused on the university, but focused on the student.
The president saying that this is not the first time he has taken drastic measures to revitalize the education sector, especially in varsities.
And that is why, in this new model, we are increasing scholarship and loan for students from vulnerable families from 80% to 95%. As it was difficult before, so it is now, but the right decisions need to be made anyway. We will celebrate them further down the road.
This as Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos Ogamba maintained that the ministry, while reforming the model, will also seek to address concerns raised by stakeholders and parents alike.
We are also implementing various reforms that are designed to enhance access, equity, and quality across all the levels of our education system. These include the student-centered funding model for higher education. Your Excellency, we have reoriented the processes under the funding model to make it more responsive to stakeholder concerns.
Ogamba further stated that the exercise of issuing new admission letters for first years joining from September, following the President's directive, will be completed on Monday.
As we gather here today, students due to join universities are receiving their revised admission letters, clearly indicating their respective household contributions to their fees. All public universities would have completed this exercise by tomorrow, the 19th of August 2024.
So far, out of the 125,000 students who applied to join varsities, 100,080 have already received their letters indicating what each household is expected to pay once the semester commences. Abdiaziz Hashim for Sunday Express.
The Council of Governors Health Committee Chairman and Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njoki has called on the devolved units to remain vigilant as the globe battles Mpox.
Muthomi has also urged members of the public to exercise caution.
Njoki says that county governments are working closely with the national government to contain the disease.
Kenya has so far confirmed one Mpox case in Taita Taveta County.
The patient has since recovered and was discharged from hospital.
According to the Ministry of Health, one suspected case reported at Vineyard Hospital in Kiambu County is under isolation, awaiting test results.
Ukipata mtu ambaye akona ile ugonjwa inakaa kama ile kidhuku, ile smallpox, kama ametravel kutoka Nairobi, kutoka Mombasa na pale ingine, tumesema vile tulikuwa tunafanya wakati wa corona, tunamfanyia isolation mpaka apone, kwa sababu akishikisha kijiji mzima itakuwa shida. So right now tunaomba muendelee kunawa mikono, kutumia sabuni, na wale wanapatikana nayo usiseme huyu ni wetu, wacha tumfungie blanketi, ndio waonyeshe mapenzi, lakini they must be isolated ili isishike kijiji mzima, hospitali zetu zijae kuliko vile zinafaa kukua.
Senators are set to convene tomorrow for a special sitting in which they will canvass the proposed removal from office of Meru Governor Kioria Mwangaza.
Also in its entry will be to adopt or reject the nomination of Douglas Kanja as the Inspector General of Police.
Ben Chumbe has details of Senate's intensive entry for the next 2 days that will see them determine the political fate of Governor Kioria, who will appear before them for the third time in 2 years to defend herself following her impeachment by the County Assembly of Meru.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay?
Senators are set to convene on Monday and Tuesday for a special sitting at 9 a.m. The first order of business, as per the order paper, will be for a pre-hearing meeting that will be held in camera for 1 hour following the impeachment of Meru Governor Kioria Mwangaza by the County Assembly. Thereafter, there will be preliminaries where the rules of hearing will be spelled out and timings allocated for each party. The charges against Governor Kioria will then be read out before the County Assembly is invited to give its opening statement for 30 minutes. The governor's representative will be next in line to give an opening statement. The afternoon session will commence at 2:30 p.m. with the County Assembly providing evidence of witnesses, if any, cross-examinations and re-examinations, which will run for 4 hours until 6:30 p.m. The Tuesday session will commence at 9 a.m. with the governor or her representative taking to the floor. The session will continue for 4 hours until 2 p.m. The afternoon session Tuesday is reserved for questions or clarifications by senators before closing statements are issued and senators vote to either uphold the impeachment or reject it. Kioria is facing charges of gross constitutional violations, misconduct and abuse of office. She previously survived impeachment motions in November 2023 and December 2022, despite 5 total attempts by the County Assembly to remove her. If the Senate votes to uphold her impeachment, she will be removed from office and her deputy takes over. Conversely, if the charges are rejected, the Senate Speaker will inform the Meru County Assembly Speaker. Should the charges be dismissed, any subsequent attempt to introduce the same allegations in the County Assembly can only occur after a 3-month period. Ben Chumba, Sunday Express.
And you can bet KBC Channel 1 will be there for it when it comes to what is going to be happening tomorrow. Now, to security matters, Bear Police in Kioria are investigating an incident in which a man of the cloth is reported to have escaped with rent arrears.
Pastor of a church of Revolution of Jesus Christ in Kioria North, Konambaya area, is alleged to have demolished the structure that housed the church and made away with the iron sheets in the middle of the night.
Well, the landlord, Diana Minor, says the church owes her a total of 358,000 shillings, which includes the rent arrears and the cost of the structure that was demolished.
She says attempts to report the pastor to the area chief over the rent arrears did not bear fruit. Police have since launched investigations to trace his whereabouts.
Ida ni kukataa kulipa na venye nimemuitisha pesa amekataa nazo. Tumeenda paka kwa chief. Tukienda kwa chief jana alikuja akabomoa tukiwa kwa chief. Walikuja wakiwa group moja na tuzubaisha kwa chief au wengine wanabomoa. Sasa jioni ndio tulijua kumebomolewa. Alikuwa akiniambia atalipa. Dakika ya mwisho tukaona atulipi, tukamuita kikao nyumbani. Akaongeleshwa akasema atalete, lakini dakika ya mwisho alitoroka.
Well, it's not funny, but you can imagine that this man has not only gone away with the rent, but also the structure itself, like the physical evidence of there being a house of worship.
And probably the good news alongside with those things. Healthcare services have been elevated in Transmara Sub-County Level 4 Hospital following the installation of a new oxygen plant.
Now, the plant, capable of producing up to 600 liters of oxygen continuously over the next 24 hours, will save the hospital the trouble of outsourcing the precious commodity and ensure patients in need have easy and affordable access to the commodity.
Fully wired, piped and equipped, the new oxygen plant in Transmara Sub-County Level 4 Hospital is fully functional and ready for use to patients who may be in need of oxygen at this facility. Dr. Samuel Misoi, a medical superintendent in the hospital, said that the hospital's piping system has been done, ensuring that every bed, both in the wards and the theatre, has direct access to this vital resource.
We have an oxygen plant which can generate up to 600 liters in 24 hours.
The capacity of oxygen production is 60 cylinders in 24 hours.
Our hospital has gained a lot, and our patients have been relieved from the problem of lack of oxygen. And now we can get our own oxygen through this plant.
Other facilities present in the hospital include a fully equipped theatre, an operational casualty section, a well-equipped laboratory, radiology services, a pharmacy stocked with an ample supply of medications, and a mortuary with a capacity to hold up to 36 bodies. These services, according to Dr. Misoi, are now available 24 hours a day.
We also have services that are running for 24 hours. What I will advise our people is that let us utilize what the county government has provided, especially the new facilities.
Residents have been urged to make full use of the government-established facilities and especially the now fully operational Nganai, which offers antenatal and prenatal care. For Sunday Express, I am Teresa Mutai.
Off to the counties where Embu residents have been cautioned against falling prey to fraudsters conning people in the name of enlisting them for land allocation in the disputed 44,000-acre Mwea settlement scheme in Bere South constituency.
The Embu Council of Elders wants residents to scrutinize hurried up registration as fraudsters or asking unsuspecting locals to part with between 6,000 to 14,000 shillings to be registered as beneficiaries.
Here's Gladys Mungai with more from the counties.
Embu Council of Elders, led by Council Chair Andrew Ireri, said fraudsters were targeting locals in the fake land registration scam as far as the neighboring Kirinyaga County.
Kwa hivyo wale wanadanganywa wajihadhari wakiambiwa ati watoe pesa hizo, sekretari amesema wanjue kuna waragai ambayo wamejitokeza wakati huu na tunakanya watu.
Cautioned residents to be alerted to avoid being duped.
Mtu asitoe pesa yake, na mtu akitaka kujua mambo kamili aende kwa sisi warandi.
Meanwhile, a section of religious leaders who are in Kola, Machakos County for the launch of Top Choir Trophy want the government to address concerns of high taxation, corruption, insecurity, bad governance and opulence among a section of politicians.
Ni serikali isingatie yanayofaa nchi yetu. Kwa hivyo ni wajibu wa serikali ishughulikie mambo yake. Jambo la kwanza ambalo lilisambaratisha ufalme wa Roma ilikuwa ni ufisadi.
Elsewhere, wrangles at the Music Copyright Society of Kenya have intensified after the new board members were allegedly denied access to their offices. The board, who are said to have been harassed and assaulted by hired goons, have blamed the Chief Executive Officer Ezekiel Mutua for their ordeal.
Wamekuja, wameletwa na magari, wamemwagwa huko, wengine ni wasanii, wengine si wasanii, wengine tunawajua, wengine hatuwajui, ni magunzi, sijui wameokotwa wapi. Utume mtu Kileleshwa police station, aulize bwana OCS, ulituma maaskari kuenda MCSK kufanya nini? Walikuwa wakuje kutetea haki zetu au walikuwa wakuje watufurushe? Kuna wizi kwa pale, kuna graft ya 56 million watu wanajua, ambayo wewe mwenyewe tunaenda kutangaza pale kwa EACC. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka kusema hivi, waimbaji, be calm, tuko kwa ofisi, tuta collect music users, tafadhali endeleni kulipa liseni, pay the license fee, ndio wasanii wakasaidika. Na wasanii tunawa promise within this 1 year mtaweza kupata royalties zenu.
And the national government has initiated the construction of a dam in Kalama Ward, Machakos County. Over 300 villagers have been facing challenges in accessing the resources.
Itakuwa inaweza serve kama 400 homesteads around here.
Hiyo ndio ilikuwa changamoto ile kubwa tulikuwa tunapata kuhusu hii mradi ya hii bawa. Kwa maana ili mradi ya bawa kulikuwa maji tunaitumia kwa muda wa miezi 2-3 hivi, kisa basi maji yenyewe inaisha.
Machakos Town Member of Parliament Caleb Mule said the government has approved the construction of 5 dams in the constituency.
Well, at this point, we take a short breather, but of course, when we come back, we've more news lined up for you. And Regina's conversation?
Yes, indeed. We're going to be looking how we can leverage on technology to bridge the gap when it comes to the quest for justice for gender-based violence survivors. So do keep it right here.
Absolutely.
Zawadi za kila wiki, 100,000 kila wiki, 250,000 kila wiki, uamuzi ni wako. Sasa Lutomoto kwenye holiday bonanza hii inakuletea game mpya kupitia *570# option 4 na ujishindia up to 250,000 Kenyan shillings ukiwa nyumbani. Na draw ni ya kila wiki, na kupata tikiti yako ni kupitia *570# pekee option 4, na tikiti yako ikitufikia inaingia ndani ya drum.
If you're the kind who takes the time to help a stranger in the rain, there's a place for people like
rangi yangu mimi alikuwa anaona tu hapa nikasema nitumie. Unaona hii ni mali yangu ya obisi unachezea.
Kaunti moja leo hapa nikusaidiaje?
Mko umetiza chakula gani?
Ng'ombe.
Ole matope. Wewe niache nitikucha. Wewe kucha bwana. Wamekucha. Korabu wangu. Yes. Wewe kimpi wacha nisikia wewe. Sina rombasi. Wewe akana mama.
Mali yake.
Kutungi.
Ayo basi dimete ndiumba in the way.
Roho yako inakuanga pande gani? Ni nini unabanya? Kanjo ni mpio.
Kama unataka nikuitie polisi endelea kusimama hapo.
Welcome back. You're watching the Sunday Express. And defying expectations and redefining possibilities is what 23-year-old Paminas Youngren lives by.
Now, despite being visually impaired, he has stood tall against the odds in his condition and not only excelled as an electrician, but also as a disc jockey.
And as Lorraine Jabchirchir found out, passion brings dreams to life.
Somewhere in Kayole Estate, to the further east of Nairobi, Paminas Youngren, who is visually impaired, leads us to his home. It is here that he has nurtured his DJing skills.
Come on, listen.
Besides this controller, he has a non-visual desktop access designed for the visually impaired, and a few cable connections. And in no time, artful music mixes rent the air. A few lessons here and there on what has earned him the Selector Young's fame.
Ili come true juu kuna screen readers zenye huwa tunatumia. Nilikuwa naanza kujitrain polepole na softwares za DJ. Nikaingia kwa field, nika purchase. Na kufanya research ikakuwa true.
DJing has had its fair share of challenges for him too.
Unapata equipment ziko so expensive. Na kama tuseme my DJing machine yangu ni around 50,000. So na pia their spare parts are very expensive. So unapata moja ikiharibika, it's lazima spend a lot.
Flip his coin and you meet Young Rain, the technician. At this workshop is where over the years he has fulfilled his childhood passion of being an electrician.
Nilikuwa tu na passion ya mtambo, machines. Nilikuwa tu nachukua mashini na dismantle, naangalia vile components ziko ndani, then nairudisha back to vile iko. Nafungua ma sockets and wiring. So nikipigwa shock najua hii ni live wire.
Unlike other electricians, he has his unique way of safely handling live wires and identifying colors of cables.
It's my own research, my own like naweza sema my own invention. Wana chukua tester na place earphone, then nikishika at the tip wana sikia some vibration. Then hapo najua ni live wire na moto ina flow. So kama nataka kujua colors, kuna natumianga testers. Kama nataka kujua colors za stima, nikiweka kwa red kwa live wire then iwake, that is natumia earphone kusikiza. Ikiwaka najua hiyo live wire. So najua hiyo ni either red ama brown.
His prowess in electrifying homes despite visual impairment has earned him adoring customers.
Stima ikileta shida anafix vizuri sana. Kuna wakati radio yangu ilikuwa imeharibika. Ilikuwa imenisubua. Na nilipomletea nikamwachia, kube alifungua akajua shida ilikuwa ni transformer.
Alikuwa ananitengenezea TV, ama unapata kama mashine imeharibika ananitengenezea.
His determination to succeed has also inspired his fiancée Sarah.
Ni mtu anajitafutia, ana hustle mwenyewe na ana make ends zinamit. Mtu who ni inspire, nimejifunza unaweza fanya anything despite kukuwa na disability yoyote.
Nevertheless, it's not all been success without challenges.
Umetumwa spare part, so unaenda kuichukua, then ule mse anadhani labda umekuja kubeg just because haoni he's blind.
Hizo machines are very expensive, so sometimes lazima ni hire ama nitafute mtu mwenye anaelewa maneno ya technician anisaidie kwa hizo small components. But zingine nikichoma hivyo naweza pata maybe imenichoma namna hii, lakini najaribu tu kukopa. Another challenge ni some motherboards ziko na sharp objects. So before you realize kitu ni sharp, isha kugwara.
His advice to youth:
kama una feel uko na passion fulani, unaweza try to reach out watu wenye wako concerned na passion yenye una feel.
Let's go. Passion is what has driven Young Green to do such daring ventures. Even so, he does them so well. Then what else can we describe him to be if not extraordinary? Reporting for KBC Nairobi County, I'm Lorraine Chepchirchir.
Oh, fantastic job there by Chepchirchir highlighting that story. I mean, is an inspiration by a greater deal.
I'm just thinking, if I was to lose my eyesight right now, where would I start from?
Yeah, particularly because you're used to having
having sight.
It means, I mean, you don't need to lose hope. Just in case that happens, you can still move on, just like he's proven.
Indeed.
And now another story of inspiration here. Epilepsy has often been a stigmatized disease associated with curses or even demon possession.
This stigma has often barred patients from seeking early treatment.
But as Samson Otieno found out, epilepsy is treatable with those recovered living productive lives, or those who have recovered living productive lives.
23-year-old Ivan Asimiu seems to have borne the brunt of stigma associated with the epilepsy from way back in school.
In my high school, I was in Uganda. It was a bit challenging because it was far from home. Nilipata attack. Kupata attack, like the whole DH was empty time niliamka. Everyone had run, including the cooks. They went and called the matron of the school. So I was taken to the hospital for some few checkups. And by around 5 a.m., I was in a bus back to Nairobi, all the way from Kampala.
The stigma came back to haunt her again in adulthood when she got employed.
So it was an early morning. I was serving a customer who was heading to work. So unfortunately, I got an attack. And the food I was carrying, kumserve, ikamwagikia na ikamwagika chini. So the customer hakutaka kuelewa. Yeye aliona kama ni madharau. So nilimchoma, nikamwaga kila kitu yenye alikuwa ameoda. And akaanza kunitusi. And he called the manager of the hotel. The manager never wanted me to explain anything. He started being harsh to me.
Whereas Eva fortunately finished school, 12-year-old Michael's epileptic condition has barred him from class, with the frequency of seizures leaving several scars on his body.
Wenye wako na watoto kama hawa wako na ulemavu wanakuwa na challenges nyingi sana. Sababu mtoto kama huu huwezi acha ati ukatafute. Pengine huna mtu wa boost ama kusaidia ili upate hizi madawa.
The myths that link epilepsy to curses or demon possession shroud the fact that it is actually a disease.
Basically, epilepsy is a neurological condition, and by neurological condition, it's a condition that affects the brain. Yeah, so being that it affects the brain, it causes something known as a seizure. Yeah, seizures are excessive electrical discharges that are produced within your brain, and when they are overproduced, they cause a seizure, which is basically a physical reaction to the discharges that have happened within your brain.
Kwa sababu sisi kama tungejua kuna matibabu, sisi tungekaa tu hivyo. Tunafikiri mtoto ni ugonjwa. Lakini wakati tuliambiwa na tukaenda kwa daktari, na sasa akatuambia sasa mtoto atapata akitumia hizi madawa atakuwa sawa.
Sentiments reinforced by Teddy Oburu, who in her decade of practice as a clinic administrator at Kenya Association of Welfare of People with Epilepsy, has seen several patients recover to living fulfilling lives.
Seizures have stopped, maybe after 3 to 5 years. They no longer need to take medication, and some have gotten families, beautiful families, and they come back to us and say, oh boy, I don't even know what I could ever pay for this. Money can't pay the joy they feel.
Mr. Lawrence Kioko is a living testimony that epilepsy can be treated, having been on medication for 5 years and eventually went out of it.
Before I was put under medication, I was taking phenobarbital. Then it was changed to phenytoin, which now I took according to the doctor's prescription. I was taking one pill. By the time I was completing my primary school education, I was taking a quarter. And the condition had already settled down.
Epilepsy is a disease or a health condition just like any other. And with the society full of information, let's join hands in fighting the stigma and help people with epilepsy live their life to the maximum. For KBC News, I am Samson Safara Otieno.
Ni aje mam, umeupdate token meter yetu?
Ai, kuupdate token meter yetu? Hiyo ni nini?
Acha nikuchanue mam, leta simu yako. So, kuna hii text tulipata from Kenya Power. Kwa hiyo text kuna code 2. Weka code ya kwanza ku reset token meter. Alafu weka code ya pili ku update token meter.
Haya, ni hivyo tu. Wacha niulize wa mama wangu wa chama kama wameupdate token meter zao, wajipange.
Hizi langi yangu mimi alikuwa anaona tu hapa nikasema nitumie. Unaona hii ni mali yangu ya obisi unajezea. Kaunti moja leo hapa nikusaidiaje?
Ulikuwa umeitisha chakula gani?
Ng'ombe. Ole matope. Wewe niache nitikucha. Wewe kucha bwana. Wamekucha. Korabu wangu. Yes. Wewe kimpi wacha nisikia. Sina robas. Wani akana ma.
Mali yake.
Kutungi.
Ayo basi dimete ndiumba in the way.
Roho yako inakuanga pande gani? Ni nini unabanya? Kanjo ni mpio.
Kama unataka nikuitie polisi endelea kusimama hapo.
I'm glad that you guys are together and well, Alonso is a single man and you're also a free woman, so then I'm happy for you two.
What will you do now?
I don't know. Maybe destroy the samples, steal them? I don't know anything as long as they don't find out the truth.
You made a fool out of me and betrayed me.
Your father was Tulio Irazabal. That is a lie. What do you want to accomplish with all this? I'm telling you, my father, my only father, is Olegario Montoya.
Las Bandidas.
Good evening once again. This is Sunday Express, and tonight we're looking at gender-based violence, not only talking about prevention, but now we're looking at if the worst happens, where do you seek help? Through which platform? And now we are joined by none other than Judith Okech, who is a founder and CEO of Ambulex Solution that is leveraging on technology to bridge that gap when it comes to seeking legal redress and also support for survivors. Thank you very much for your time. Apologies for Okech.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, we already know that gender-based violence is quite a vice and it's quite pervasive as it is, and it's calling for collective action. Let's address the fact that it has happened. What is my first line of action as a victim?
As a victim, first, you need to understand that they're already in a mental state. They do not know that, one, if I do call for help, will I actually be, beaten further? If I do call for help, will I actually get the help that I need? Because there are probably no mechanisms for me to get this help. The first probably thing that, because someone who's going through GBV, whether it's a man or a woman, is in a state where they're not able to know exactly what they want to do next. And so that's how we are coming in as Ambulex. The way we have built our app, it's in such a way that you only need to tap and no one is going to know that you're calling for help.
So it's, what can I say, incognito, so to speak?
It's incognito.
So the people I'm with, or even the person who is either beating me up or harassing me, will not know that I've actually called for help.
They will not know that you've actually called for help. And from our end, we can already see that you've requested for GBV support. So the thing we will not do is call you back. So how we go about it is we work with the police. So we communicate with the closest police station because the app is GPS enabled. So we communicate to the closest police station, coordinate with our EMTs, the emergency medical technicians, the team that is responding, because we also want to ensure that at the end of the day we are taking care of you if you do have injuries or some traumas. So we also want to ensure that we're taking care of you in that way. So we will get to you without the perpetrator knowing that we are on our way.
Yeah. So question is, one would ask, how do I get this app? Is it toll-free? Is it a call? Is this an SMS line? Is it online? Because we're looking at the numbers. If we have 34% of women, especially, having experienced one form of gender-based violence or not, between the ages of 13 and 15, we are looking at a majority of those are young boys and young girls. Is it available to this demographic?
So it is available on Google Play Store currently for Android users. We are still working on the others. And it is available because our focus really is on low-income families. And we do this because we realize they do not have the access. And beyond that, they also are not able to afford some of these services. And so we also do know that in terms of mobile use penetration in the country, most Kenyan families are actually able to access, the very basic mobile phones, but also phones that they can use for, to access internet. And so the way we do is we work with families as opposed to individuals, because we do understand that, kids are also involved in this, and we want children to be able to access or make a phone call. So what we do usually for most of our subscribers, we give them a number, a number that they can call.
So it's toll-free?
Currently, no, but we're working towards that. And you just basically need to tell us that call us back and we'll call back, even as much as it's not toll-free. And so every person in the family has access to us in that way. Yeah.
Now, since we're talking about families, let's address the issue of minors. You receive such a callback request, and the person calling on the other line is a minor. Minors, a majority of them, do not own these gadgets. How does your team get to know that the person who actually made this call is Regina, who is 12 years old, and the perpetrator is the father? How do you go about that? How do you ensure that the family unit, survives this?
Yeah, so we have a very well-trained team, dispatch team, that will get to understand. There are questions that they'll ask. I'm not able to talk about it now, but there are questions that they'll ask that will let us know who this person is calling and who the perpetrator, if the perpetrator is even in the room, we'll be able to know that. We're able to, for example, if the child needs to do something to provide first aid, very basic first aid, we're able to take them through that. So we have a very well-trained team that is able to manage these calls. Yeah.
What about those who are either physically impaired? Do you, the capacity of the response team, do you have enough capacity actually to deal with those who may have, challenges in expressing themselves? We have the deaf, dumb, and blind who may not be able to express themselves as we do, or a majority do. Do you have that capacity there?
We might not have the full capacity as of now, because the way we work is we work with very different stakeholders within the industry, and not all these stakeholders have that capacity. But it's one of the things that we are working towards. But in the meantime, what we do is, as we are, questioning and finding out who this person is, we are able to tell how fast we can respond to this person. One of the things that we are trying to explore beyond just the app is a wristband or a wristwatch, where people with disabilities are able to quickly just use, for example. Yeah. So we're exploring different tech that will enable us to reach different populations and those that are enabled differently.
Well, as a player within this particular value chain, I'm sure now you sit in a position where you can tell us where we're going in as far as matters of gender-based violence is. We have the statistics, yes, but you are there on ground. Are we winning this, or are we still lagging, playing catch-up in this vice?
Unfortunately, we are really actually regressing. And as you talk about the statistics, 1 in every 3 women are, going through GBV or have reported GBV. And only 20% of these have access. In fact, actually less than 20% of these have access to some level or form of justice. And among these, a very small percentage are actually getting that justice. You can have the access, but getting it is a different thing. So we're actually not moving forward. And that's because reporting on GBV is very low. So we are not able to make a case so that we are able to, find more resources to put into the fight. If it's prevention or if it's response, we are still really lagging behind in that sense.
Now, talking about reporting is low, and we have the statistics there. But then there's the issue is the evidence base, or rather the evidence base to build a case that actually can stand in a court of law is also one of the challenges that has been cited. So where do you come in, in this, in ensuring that especially if it's sexual violence, there are do's and don'ts, and a majority appear not to really know or not in a position to understand exactly what it means not taking a shower or having that particular evidence. How are you coming in? You may have the data, you may have the app, but how are you helping when it comes to really the situation on ground?
And that's the uniqueness of our intervention, is that we send emergency medical responders, and they are well trained to know how to, pick this evidence and ensure that the evidence gets to where it needs to get to, and especially when the survivor actually wants to press charges. So we are able to contain that evidence and submit it based on now what the survivor wants to do.
You have picked up on something, or rather I have picked up on something you said, when the survivor wants. Now let's address other, dispute mechanisms, resolution mechanisms. We have communities where they opt for kangaroo courts, and this has come up even with the new policy review when it comes to matters of gender-based violence. Right. And we have seen the judiciary pronounce itself saying that when it comes especially to minors, they're really not advocating for this arbitration to be done at the kangaroo courts.
Exactly.
Have you experienced that? And is it regressing in the fight for justice of GBV survivors?
Yeah, we have actually experienced that, and one of the things that we are also trying to be careful about as a service provider, or people who are actually providing some intervention, is that we also do not come out to the community as a service provider that's fighting the community, because we find that the community also wants to consider the kangaroo courts, and if you're seen to be pushing for a certain agenda, then you become an enemy, because at the end of the day we are really keen on protecting that child. We are, in terms of providing medical intervention, we are keen on protecting that woman or that man, providing medical intervention so that they do not die, for example, or go through a very long process of accessing healthcare. So that is our main goal. But beyond that, we work within the ecosystem. We work with different stakeholders who also provide psychosocial support, provide access to judicial services, but we do see that because of culture, because of societal expectations, they tend to move towards the kangaroo courts, as opposed to actually wanting to find justice within our legal system. Yeah.
So for you, it's an intricate balance there as a service provider to go with the wishes of the victim, looking at where they live, or rather the ecosystem around them. Now let's talk about psychosocial support, and especially integrating these survivors back into their communities. There's a lot of stigma around gender-based violence, in as much as we're making inroads to just doing away with the vice. How do we support survivors? Are we also looking into that?
Yeah, one of the things that we actually want to work around is, because that reintegration into the community or into that family sometimes goes beyond just pushing this person to now go back to your family, because you realize there are probably some other contributors, mostly economical contributors, and so we want to also look at how do we support this survivor so that they're able to support themselves and maybe get out of that situation, that GBV situation. Beyond that, looking at legal frameworks, how do we get this person from the situation where they probably will undergo GBV again, or from the perpetrator, because most of the time the perpetrators
is within the home, actually the home setup. That's where actually violence takes up more.
And even if they're arrested, most of the time 1 or 2 days later they're out. So how do we provide that safe space? And so we work with other organizations that have safe houses. So most of the time that will be the first place that will take this person, as we look at other areas of intervention. Yeah.
Whenever we speak gender-based violence, what comes to mind to a majority of people is that this is a female issue. But as we call it gender-based violence, man, woman, child, grown-up, we are all potential victims. How do we address that stereotype that, you know, when we raise an issue of gender-based violence, we're talking about women? How do we bring men into this conversation? And more so, how do we, you know, encourage men to report these cases?
Yeah, the thing is, men have been conditioned to think that they are, you know, a strong gender, so they shouldn't cry, they shouldn't talk about their issues. And so reporting on GBV from men is even lower, very low, because of the stigma that comes, you know, with that. And what I could say is, I think it's high time that men also talk about GBV as something that actually affects them, because they actually go through it. And GBV is not, the violence is not just, you know, the physical violence. Yes. There's the emotional, there's the psychological as well. There's even economical, you know? And men go through this. But the way our culture, and especially in Africa, the society is structured is that a man should not go out and talk about, you know, especially when it comes to, like, the violence comes from a woman. Why? How are you?
There is that notion, unapigwa na mwanamke.
And, you know, when they go reporting this, for example, in some of our GBV desks in the police stations, you find that they're not taken seriously. The first question will be, umechapwa aje na mwanamke, you know? Aje. Like, now you're actually now victimized further. You know, you're put to explain yourself why you're weak. Well, essentially, that's not the case. So I would really encourage men to report more, so that with this data, we are able to find better ways of intervening for them as well.
Okay. Yeah. Now, as we come to a close, Madam Okech, I'd want you to just give us, you know, what is your take on how far we have come in as far as the policies in terms of law? We have seen quite the changes under the new regime with Chief Justice Martha Koome, especially on the database and how it is informing, especially we go the judicial way, you know, seeking redress in that legal manner. Then also just give us that particular, you know, app where we can find it and the number that we can call as we come to a close.
Right. So on the justice framework, the legal framework, I think there's a lot of goodwill. It's the mechanisms that are a bit amiss. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And the thing is, mostly you find that with different regimes, things keep on changing. So we need to get to a point where we have something that's actually working and working on a long term for all of us. Yeah, so for the app, you can find it on Google Play Store for Android users. Just search for Ambulex. You should be able to find it. And you can call us on 0702 89 89 89.
And soon it's going to be toll-free.
Yes, that's what we actually want to do.
Do you have a timeline?
Should be in the next 2 or 3 months. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. There you have it. When it comes to matters of gender-based violence, as pervasive as it may be, well, stakeholders and from our guests this evening is that this is something that needs a collective action towards eradicating the vice. And gender-based violence does not necessarily mean just women. We are also talking about men, women, the young and the old. We are all candidates of gender-based violence. That puts a cap on the conversation tonight. Now we head on to matters sports with Daniel Wahome. But first things first, let's have a quick breather. We'll be back with sports.
Siamini. Amini usiamini, Holiday Bonanza ni ya kila mtu na zawadi zitakufikia mahali popote. Dial *570#, chagua option 4 na zawadi kibao zinakungoja. Ikiwa kila wiki kuna 250,000 Kenyan shillings za kushindaniwa. Ni *570# pekee, option 4, tushinde.
or the 10,000 metre runner. Here comes Beatrice Chebet, those long legs coming through, and it's the 10,000 metre woman who's going to cake the 5,000 metre title. Beatrice Chebet takes it at the line and becomes the Olympic champion. Absolutely magnificent. And it was her stamina at the longer distance that in the end overcame the speed of Kip Yegon, who gets the silver medal. 5,000 metres final. Her 10,000 metre strength in the end got her to the finish line first. She overtook Faith Kip Yegon on the last lap. And the world record holder at the 10,000 metres, showing that she can step down with great effect as well.
Good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Sunday Express Sport. Now, FKF Premier League champions Gor Mahia began their CAF Champions League campaign on a losing note today after going down by a goal to nil to Al Merrick Bentu in Juba. The long goal was scored by Mohamed Musa in the 64th minute. The two sides will meet again next Sunday in the return leg in Nairobi. Meanwhile, Kenya Police were held to a barren draw by Ethiopia's Coffee Sports in the CAF Confederation Cup. First leg tie played today at the Nyayo National Stadium. The second leg will be played on the 25th of this month in Ethiopia, where the winner of the two-legged tie will advance to the second preliminary round of the competition. Police qualified for the Continental Tournament after winning the 2024 Mozambique Cup by beating a resolute KCB. The return legs on the 25th means that Gor Mahia and Kenya Police will miss their opening FKF Premier League matches against Talanta FC and City Stars, respectively. And Team Kenya captain Eric Sikuku won Kenya a third gold medal at the 25th edition of the World Masters Athletics Championships in Gothenburg, Sweden. Team Kenya also won a silver and a bronze medal.
The Athletics Kenya Masters team is stamping authority with some scintillating performances at the 25th edition of the World Masters Athletics Championship in Gothenburg, Sweden. The team, coached by Elizabeth Olaba, has now won 13 medals, 3 gold, 6 silver and 4 bronze medals in the competition that has attracted more than 8,000 participants from 111 countries. Team Kenya captain Eric Sikuku was at his best in the men's M45 walk race to claim Kenya's third gold medal in a championship record of 44 minutes 16.56 seconds.
Mashindano yamekuwa kali, lakini nilikuwa nimejitayarisha. Nilikuja kama nimejipanga kupata medali 3, gold 3. Nimepata 1. Jumatatu najitayarisha kufanya kilomita 5 ya uwanjani, pia natarajia kushinda. Hii ya leo ilikuwa na wasiwasi kwa sababu ilikuwa tumeweka categories 3, 35, 40 and 45. Sasa upinzani ilikuwa juu, but nimefaulu kupata hiyo gold medal na nashukuru Mungu.
Francis Bowen and Rosalind David had previously won 2 gold medals for Kenya in the men and women's 5,000 meter races respectively. Robert Langat Kibet won silver in the men's 800 meters M60, while Jesse Gishui Njoroge grabbed bronze in the men's 5,000 meters.
Sugar were crowned champions of the Dallas Sevens after beating Menengai Oilers 24-5 in a final play this evening at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu. It was their second title of the season's National Seven Circuit. In the third place playoff, Kenya Harlequin edged Masinda Muliro University 22-19 to ensure they do not come back to Nairobi empty-handed. KCBRC finished 5th with head coach Andrew Monde conveying his confidence that his Chargers will up their game at the KBC Sevens next weekend in Nairobi. After the KBC Sevens, the circuit will take a 1-week break before returning on the 7th and 8th of September for the Driftwood Sevens in Mombasa and the Prince Louis Sevens. The final leg of the competition will be held at the Nakuru Athletic Club on the 14th and 15th of September. And defending champions Equity regained pole position in the Division 1 League after the first 2 rounds of the new Chess Kenya season was held this weekend at the Uhuru Sports Complex in Nairobi. Equity won last season's title, having beaten KCB, who finished second.
Equity Chess team are back in pole position after the first 2 rounds of the new Chess Kenya League at the Uhuru Sports Complex. Equity won their matches to move top ahead of Nairobi Chess Academy and Victoria Elite, who sat second and third after the 2 rounds. Kisumu and Nakuru Chess Clubs settled for 4th and 5th positions respectively. Elite Chess Academy and Anchor Pace Setters are bottom in position 16th and 17th respectively. More than 50 players competed in the first 2 days of the league that is set to end in November this year. Meanwhile, the team of Jiten Pabari, Amrish Patel, Ramesh Karya and Prashant Thakrar returned a combined score of 115 points to be named the overall winners of the 15th leg of the KCB East Africa Golf Tour played at the Nyanza Golf Club. Griffin Owino, Joyce Osike, Tabitha Ojwang and Christine Riaro, who bagged the tour's overall crown last year, finished second with 111 points at the tournament that was graced by 130 top amateur golfers from around the country. Joyce Osike was on her best form, returning 41 Stableford points to be crowned the overall winner of the day. The next leg of the KCB East Africa Golf Tour will be held in Nanyuki on September 7th this year.
Team midfielder Mateo Kovacic and Erling Haaland netted a goal each to kickstart Manchester City's defence of the English Premier League title on a 2-0 winning note against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Earlier, Brentford started their EPL season with a narrow 2-1 win over Crystal Palace.
Ethan Pinnock, the hapless Bees defender.
And that's the sport for tonight. More coming your way tomorrow as we build up to the FKF Premier League season and also the World Masters Athletics Championships. My name is Daniel Wahome. Have a good evening. Back to John Jacob Kioria and Regina Manyara.
Thank you very much, Wahome. I realize Chelsea has picked from where they stopped last time of playing useless, haphazard and criminal football. But we'll bear with it. No worries. So we put a cap on Sunday Express. Have yourself a fantastic night. My name is John Jacob Kioria.
Kenyans bubbling with joy and cheer. Tukicheer tuko unstoppable. Na tukipatana, our cheer spreads from within, across the world for all to see. We are the champions of cheers. Join in as we cheer on Team Kenya and stand a chance to win amazing prizes. Tusker, proud sponsor of Team Kenya. Terms and conditions apply. Excessive alcohol consumption is harmful to your health. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Zawadi za kila wiki, 100,000 kila wiki, 250,000 kila wiki. Uamuzi ni wako. Sasa Lutomoto kwenye holiday bonanza hii inakuletea game mpya kupitia *570# option 4. Na ujishindia up to 250,000 Kenyan shillings ukiwa nyumbani. Na draw ni ya kila wiki, na kupata tikiti yako ni kupitia *570# pekee option 4. Na tikiti yako ikitufikia inaingia ndani ya drum.
Proudly Kenyan, in association with Tusker.
Chematai still going. One water jump to go. This could decide it. The water jump often decides where the medals go, and she takes it well. Yavi makes her move, and it'll be a sprint to the line. Will it be a Ugandan retention of the title? No! It will be Yavi who takes it for Bahrain. The Olympic record goes. Well, Faith at Cheretich ran a new lifetime best to win bronze for Kenya, 8:55.15. She wasn't exactly in the final sprint, but she was just behind, as you can see from the pictures on the bottom right of your screen.
Proudly Kenyan, in association with Tusker. Kenyans, bubbling with joy and cheer. Tukicheer tuko unstoppable. Na tukipatana, our cheer spreads from within, across the world for all to see. We are the champions of cheers. Join in as we cheer on Team Kenya and stand a chance to win amazing prizes. Tusker, proud sponsor of Team Kenya. Terms and conditions apply. Excessive alcohol consumption is harmful to your health. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.